Hey everybody, what's going on? Juan here, welcome back to the channel. If you're like me, you probably play a lot of video games at the same time. You don't necessarily complete them, but there are so many games out there that it's hard for me to sometimes just pick one specific game to play all the way to the end. So for this video, I thought I would do a series every now and then talking about those specific games. For now, I'll be talking about a game on the PS1, another one that I've been playing on the PC, but it's also available on the PS4, and the last one is an awesome music rhythm game that is currently available in a digital format on the Nintendo Switch. So I would love to know what are some of the games that you're currently playing, because these are the ones that I've been playing for the month of December and now January 2019. And for every game that I talk about in this video, I'll be going over what I liked and what I disliked about these games. And we're going to kick it off number one with a game that's available on the PS1, and that is Resident Evil 2. I never beat the first Resident Evil, or the second, or the third. I beat the fourth and the fifth. I know, you're very disappointed, so am I, but I'm doing my best to change that by completing this one before the remake comes out, because I am going to be getting myself a copy of the Resident Evil 2 remake, so hopefully I'll be covering that right here on the channel if I'm not too scared. And with Resident Evil 2, because I was so afraid of playing it back in the day, I'm like, I gotta finally get it. And one of the things that I absolutely love about this game has got to be the atmosphere. I love the pre-rendered backgrounds. I've always loved that, from Final Fantasy to Parasite Eve to now this game as well, because you understand there was this artist that was trying to develop this entire world to make it look as realistic as possible, to make you feel a little bit claustrophobic, because with the pre-rendered backgrounds, one of the things that ends up happening is that you're constrained to these different camera angles. And we'll be talking about the tank controls a little bit later, because obviously I don't think anybody likes some of the tank controls. And because you have these pre-rendered backgrounds, you're left with this tremendous atmosphere where you're at this police station trying to complete all these different puzzle pieces, but it feels dirty, it feels grimy, you feel alone, even though there are other characters like Ada Wong, Claire Redfield that you encounter, because I'm currently doing the Leon Kennedy playthrough. You get the sense that it's up to you. You got to be able to do all these things. You got to uncover exactly what's going on. You got to identify the solutions. You get to meet these different characters, and you really care about the place that you're in. And I think that it's always a big deal to understand where these games come from, because I know that throughout the years people talk about Resident Evil and about the fact that Capcom lost their touch. Even though I haven't played Resident Evil 7, but I've watched a lot of gameplay, people have said tremendous things about that game. So when talking about the remake, I think we definitely got to give it a shot, because if we base it on what they've done with Resident Evil 7, you know Capcom can still squeeze out some great things. Look at what they did with Mega Man as well. So let's be hopeful, let's be happy with what's about to come. The other thing I love about Resident Evil 2 has got to be the soundtrack and the overall sound. Not talking about the voiceover, that's another thing. But the fact of the matter is that the sound and the music is there when it needs to be. By that I mean every single door is a loading screen, but right afterwards sometimes you get a music cue. Or you hear the footsteps of a zombie and you're like, huh, so the zombie's not currently on my screen, but maybe if I turn the corner, he's gonna be right there. So I gotta open up my menu, I gotta get the gun out, gotta make sure it's reloaded. Oh my god, I am out of ammo and I am terrible with the knife. What am I gonna end up doing? And all of those different cues that you're doing is thanks to not even how the game looks, but how the game sounds and how they use the sound to create that suspense for you. Talking about two things that I did not like about Resident Evil 2, and I think we can all agree with this. I'm playing in normal difficulty and the ink ribbons are in no way fun. I get it. The idea is that you gotta pick and choose. This is a survival game, so it's about preserving ammo, it's about preserving health, making sure that you're very careful about every single decision that you make. But every time that I have an ink ribbon, I'm like, oh man, I have this tendency to want to save, but if I save, I run out of save. So what do? If I go too far down and I get hit, I gotta go back and then spend that save, and then I gotta get some ink so I can develop some more ribbons so then I can actually save again. And that gets a little bit aggravating. And I know, if you choose easy difficulty, that is not a problem you gotta suffer through. So maybe I just had to go with easy, but I didn't want to. So I chose normal, and now I'm paranoid. And then there's the other thing. So this right here is an Xbox One controller, but hypothetically, say this is a PS1 controller. There was a magical thing about the PS1 era of video games where they said, hey, instead of having you roam around freely, you press left, and then you go forward, and then you go backward. But see, there's a zombie behind you. You got to turn all the way around slowly with the tank controls. I never understood why tank controls were a thing. Although at the same time, I mean, analog controllers were not a thing until many years later. It's not up until the PS2 that I really feel a lot of games took advantage of the analog stick. So understandably so, when you go back memory lane and you play Resident Evil 2, thanks to the tank controls, if you did not grow up during this era, you're gonna have a bad time. But once again, I will be getting myself a copy of the Resident Evil 2 Remake, possibly for PS4, so if you're gonna get it, let me know your excitement level and what console you're gonna be getting it for. Now, talking about the second game I've been playing, this was actually part of one of my videos where I picked up a couple of steelbooks thanks to a friend, the Sparrow Wolf, and this is Stories: The Path of Destinies. I'm currently playing it on PC, but it is also available on the PS4, and I believe that it came out free for the PlayStation Plus. And this game originally came out in 2016. And this is an action role-playing game where you play as Reynardo. And the reason that it's called Stories: The Path of Destinies and not Story is that you play through one specific story, and the choices that you make lead to different results that are explained by a narrator.
Gallows, she rasped. Reluctantly, he swore. And he whiled away his days at home with music, cards, and wine. But the Emperor had changed.
You have this person telling you, hey, this is the positive result or the consequences of your actions. You actually get to go back and play through them. And not in a chapter select. It's not like there's a menu where you're like, well, I played through this scenario, so now I'm going to play through this one. What I love about the game is that it actually ties everything together into one story. Something else I really like about the game is, look at it. It is absolutely beautiful. It's got this vivid color scheme. It reminds me a lot of the Skylander Swap Force games. And I know that's a weird example. What's really good is that in the combat, it initially looks like a Batman Arkham game. And yeah, it is kind of that, but it's got a lot of other things. So the attack button is also your counter button, it's also your grab button, and the way that the game plays is that there's specific enemies that have a shield, so you gotta grab another one, throw it towards that enemy to knock the shield down and attack. And it's got this interesting mechanic that took me back to the days of Super Mario RPG, where if you hit the button, the moment you hit the enemy, you actually get a critical damage. So you hit the attack button, there is a small delay, and when you first start the game, it's gonna seem weird, but just bear with it, because once everything clicks together, once you get all the mechanics, it just meshes everything so well, and that's why I really enjoy playing the game. The game also has an upgrade system, which is really good. And another thing that's really creative is that the swords not only give you benefits for combat, there are these different doors throughout the game that if you have a sword that matches the color of that door, you actually get to unlock it. Now, even though that's pretty cool, something that I do have a nitpick and something that I maybe didn't love about the game is that the upgrade system is kind of cool. The initial one where you can get different health and things like that, but the actual swords, even though I have fire damage, I can freeze somebody, I have barely used that throughout the game. The reason that's the case is because I have such a fun time limiting myself in the game. Like, okay, so I want to survive with low health and I want to get good at the countering, so I'm not going to rely on freezing enemies so that I can easily strike them. So maybe that's a personal thing, and maybe that's why I don't feel tempted to use those things, but they feel like an afterthought. Something that's really disappointing about the game is that there is a serious lack of enemy variety. I've played over 4 hours of the game so far, and it feels like I'm always battling the same people. Yeah, some of these monsters have a shield, some of them don't. There's this fire one, so it just seems like they really want you to get good at the combat system. They want you to understand the role that each enemy has in combat, and then that's kind of it. But if you had a little bit more variety, this game would have gone from good to great, but overall, I am really enjoying my time with it. And the final game that I'll be talking about in this video is something that I did not intend to play. I was browsing the Nintendo Eshop, a bunch of games come out every single week, and there was this big sale during the month of December, and I saw this game called Old School Musical, and I'm like, okay, interesting, it's gotta be some kind of a music rhythm game, and I was intending on playing it for maybe 30 minutes or so. I was gonna stream it on Press Pause TV on Twitch, and I'm like, hey, at least $10, I'll get my money's worth. And to say that I've been loving this game is an absolute understatement. So on the gameplay side of things, this is pretty much Dance Dance Revolution. Up, down, left, right. You also get to use the shoulder buttons, but how the game ties everything together is exceptional. So just by looking at the game, you can tell this is completely inspired by classic video games from the arcades, NES, Super Nintendo, and you play as these two brothers that live with their mother in a deserted island. For whatever reason, it starts glitching like an actual computer glitch, so everybody decides to escape. You get stranded away from your mother and you want to connect with her by reaching this communications tower. And things happen that I will not spoil, but that is the premise of the story, and it continues to evolve, and you really care about these characters. And I just kept thinking to myself, like, okay, I came here for the gameplay, the music rhythm stuff, but you're giving me a story that I actually care about, and how it blends everything together is pretty awesome. So what ends up happening is that because the worlds are glitching, as you try to escape, you're teleported to these different worlds, and each world is based on a classic game. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mega Man, Outrun, Metal Slug, the list goes on. And with every stage, you're treated to a song inspired by that game. And what I love is that the game has cutscenes. So in those cutscenes, they talk about what they want to do, the objectives, but then the actual gameplay side of things, which is the Dance Dance Revolution gameplay, in the background, you actually get to see them moving from point A to point B. So if they say, hey, we gotta get over there, and there's a Pokemon themed stage, you see them walking around the world. That is genius, because you get to understand the story, and then as you play, you get to look at the background, and sometimes I get distracted because I'm like, oh, I just want to see that. And if you're a streamer, this is actually a really good game to stream, or if you have company over, because as you're playing, everybody else can just enjoy the background. The only nitpick I have about the game is that you go to these awesome worlds based on classic video games, but with the exception of the cutscenes and maybe something like the Metal Slug part where you can go left and right and talk to a few characters, you can't really do anything else in them. And that almost seems like a missed opportunity, because you go to these different worlds and it would be kind of cool to actually walk around there for a little bit to experience it. But at the same time, we can't forget this is old school musical. It is a music rhythm game, and although I have not completed it, I'm definitely planning on doing so. And those right there have been some of the games that I've been playing for the month of December and right here early January 2019. Let me know if you haven't seen any of these games in the past, although I would assume you've watched Resident Evil 2 or played it in the past. But something like Stories, The Path of Destinies, Old School Musical, those are games that maybe a couple of other channels talk about, but I haven't really seen them talk about them that much. And I definitely think that at an average beat time of about 6 to 8 hours apiece, those are games that are worth trying out, and I'm going to be doing my best to balance things out right here on the channel, talking about some of the more recognizable video games like Resident Evil 2, but also doing my best to illustrate games like Stories, The Path of Destinies, and other independent video games that do not get enough love, and you should check them out. So if you like these videos, definitely let me know if you'd like me to continue working on something like this, maybe on a monthly basis, bi-monthly basis. I just sit down here and I showcase 2, 3, 5 of the different video games that I've been playing, and I just want to thank each and every one of you because we recently reached 800 subscribers. That is absolutely awesome, and this would not be possible without you. I love to work on this channel, and stay tuned because I have been hinting at the fact that there's going to be a couple of things changing, so mark your calendars. Friday, January 11th, there's going to be a very interesting channel update, and I'm not going to be talking about things that are going to be happening in a month's time. There's going to be something happening that very day. So you may not be getting one video on January 11th. You may be getting 2 videos. So you definitely want to hit that subscribe button. You can also join our Discord channel over at presspause.tv/Discord. You can enjoy my wife and myself streaming over at twitch.tv/presspausetv. And if you want more of me, because I don't talk enough, clearly, I do have a podcast that I'm a part of called A Cast to the Past. It's available right here on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. New episode every single Sunday, youtube.com/acasttothepast. Up until next time, thank you for watching and supporting, and never forget, folks, that this video has concluded, but because January 11th is not too far off, the epic journey definitely continues. So thank you for watching, gang. Take care. Also, steelbooks are awesome. I've talked about this previously, but these things are just great to have.